Well, good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to our daily devotional show. My name is Brandon Woodard. I serve as the lead pastor of Reconcile Community Church here in the beautiful Queen City of Cincinnati, Ohio. I am extremely glad to be with you all. It has been a crazy time. We'll go into a bit of just, you know, pastor's vulnerability moments for you as a word of encouragement. But listen, for me to be here with you all this morning is a testament of God's goodness and his grace. We are extremely thankful. Glad to see you all joining us here as we are starting off our new week. The first day of our new week. Glad to be with you all as you are jumping in. Glad to be with you. Cannot stress it enough how glad and happy I am to be with you all this morning. Glad to be with you all this morning. Glad to be with you all this morning. Listen, I posted something earlier about the importance of taking care of your body. I was talking about this last week and just saying, hey man, there's a reason why we have to take care of our bodies. Our bodies always keep the score. You've probably heard that. That was in reference to trauma, but at the same time, there are some other implications of that as well. And so I use my social media in a lot of ways to share with you all. Just to model for you all in real time. I feel like in this day and age, the pastor is to model, not only just teach, but to model the good, bad, and sometimes the ugly. And so let's just, pastor's point of encouragement for you today, for anybody who's watching on today and this morning. I just want to share with you a few things that are vitally important. And so again, take care of yourself. The reason why I've been sharing like this and to also just be frank, why we didn't have our gathering yesterday was because for some months now, man, I've just been feeling like crap. Not really sure what was going on. As you know, earlier this year, I ended up getting COVID again. But again, there was just did what I was supposed to do to some degree, but body was still not all the way there. Got sick again with my family. And so that was kind of throwing everything off. All of my patterns and things were getting thrown off. Still not feeling all the way together, but, continuing to press forward because I felt good enough. And then lately, health just kind of took a turn again. And we are left waiting to see what our things say. It is still a bit of a mystery. We got a good idea of what we think it might be, but at the same time, I don't know if everything would have been avoidable. But what I do know is that you got to take care of your body and you got to listen to your body. And so some things that I would share with you, when your body is telling you, screaming to you that you got to take time away, take the time away. Always be up to date with your doctor's visits and your annual physicals and getting blood work taken and all of these things. Things can change quickly within your body. And so love you too, cuz love you too. Good to see you. And so just make sure you take care of yourself. And so that's what, me as Pastor Brandon is doing, is having to take care of myself, going back and looking at some things and restructuring even more than I have been doing. Everything that I'm telling you and everything that I've shared with you and everything that I've taught you, I have to apply to my own life as well. And so I'm actively doing that. And my way of letting you know that I'm actively doing that is through the social media channels, so that you don't always see just all the things that are going well. But at the same time, I can let you in to some degree to the things that are happening that may not be so well. And so, if you are asking for specific prayer requests, you can just be praying that the Lord would do something miraculous and give us clarity as it relates to what is going on in my body. And so, I want to share that with you because I know a lot of you think, oh, he ran track and he did all of these things, but that does not negate the fact that your body is still fragile and it's still broken. And so you want to take care of it as much as possible and make sure that you are doing what you can do. There's no amount of, you know, um, well, let me rephrase it this way. You can be prayed up. You can be, um, you can be, you could be doing all of the things that are necessary spiritually, but if you're not taking care of your physical temple, you won't last. That's why you see in Second Timothy or First Timothy where he talks about this idea that, man, look, physical training is of some use, but he talks about, your spiritual well-being being just as important or even more important. But there's still importance, as he was getting at. He wasn't saying that you don't take care of your body at all. No, you take care of your body. Just make sure that you are spending a good chunk of time on your spiritual. You still got to take care of your physical body. And so I just want to make sure, in my ramblings, that I share that with you. And so that means that at times there may be some things that may shift in these coming weeks. And so we're still working through all of those different things. But the hope is that I'll be here as long as the Lord would have me. And we want to make sure that we are showing and modeling what obedience looks like. And so, whatever that looks like, I'm just ready for the ride. I'm glad that you all are here. Glad that you have been joining us and that you've been finding hope from Reconcile Community Church. That has been such a joy in these days. And so, again, thank you all for letting me be vulnerable in that moment to share with you just the reality of what's taking place. But then at the same time, to call you to learn from me. And so, take care of your body, even those little whispers and things that that like the spirit is telling you, like, hey, take breaks or go to the doctor or get checked out. Please do that. Take your time. You never know what's actually happening until you do the due diligence of taking care of your physical body. You can only go so far as your body will allow you. And so if God is calling you to something incredible, you got to make sure that your body can actually withstand the test and withstand whatever that next phase is. And so, yes, we pray, but then you also are careful about what you're eating. You fast, and you also make sure that you are taking care of your body by doing the things that are necessary to promote your health, your physical health. We want you to last the test of time so that you can walk through whatever it is that God is calling you to. But you got to take care of your body. You got to take care of your body. We do not need you croaking out right before you get to where God has called you to. That just might be the word for somebody today. Don't croak out before God puts you in the place where he wants you to be, because you weren't a good steward of your physical body. You wasn't a good steward of your physical body. Stewardship is not just your money, but it's your time, your talent, and your treasure. And I will add your temple, your body. You got to make sure that you're taking care of yourself. Thank you for that pastoral privilege. Let's jump into the text. We're back in First John chapter 3. Or no, First John chapter 4. First John chapter 4. We've been slowly walking our way through. Let's jump back into it. I think that there's some goodness here for us, especially on today. First John chapter 4 says this: Dear friends, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits to see if they are from God, because many false prophets have gone out into the world. This is how you know the Spirit of God. Every spirit that confesses that Jesus Christ has come in the flesh is from God. But every spirit that does not confess Jesus is not from God. This is the spirit of the Antichrist, which you have heard is coming. Even now, it is already in the world. You are from God, little children, and you have conquered them, because the one who is in you is greater than the one who is in the world. They are from the world. Therefore, what they say is from the world, and the world listens to them. We are from God. Anyone who knows God listens to us. Anyone who is not from God does not listen to us. This is how we know the spirit of truth and the spirit of deception. Let's go before the Lord and let's pray together. Gracious God, we thank you for this opportunity that we have to be reminded of your goodness, your grace, and your mercy on today. Now, Lord, I pray that you would be with us as we have opened up your word. Lord, we know that when we open up your word and dive into your scriptures, we know that there is an opportunity for us to be corrected, to be challenged, to be rebuked, but at the same time to be encouraged and edified. And so, Lord, I pray that you would be with us on this morning. Be with us now. Give us eyes to see and ears to hear what it is that you would have for us on this day. We thank you. We love you. It's in your son's name we pray and give thanks. Amen and amen. I love this first part that he talks about, and this whole idea, this whole pericope. Give you a fancy word on this morning. Everybody could just say pericope. Pericope. Pericope is a fancy term that is used in seminary, where they talk about the idea of a thought block. A thought block. So think when you are trying to make a point, you have a thought that you have, and now you're going to try to articulate that point. That entire articulation of that point, that whole articulation, that whole opportunity that you have to try to reason your point, that whole dialogue is called a pericope. When you change thoughts, where you change points, where you are trying to change direction in your conversation, then that starts a new pericope. I'm just giving you kind of a working definition of this word. So when you use it out in public, you have a fancy $3 word that you can use, and people be like, "Ooh, look at you." So your word for today, the PSAT word of the day, is pericope. Pericope. It's a thought block. It's this idea of, whatever point you're trying to make. It's this thought block. This helps us understand what's happening here. There are multiple different pericopes that are taking place in First John. I'm just taking you into school real quick before we can get into the lesson. It's good for you to know some of these things, right? So if you come across this word in theological or in Christian jargon, you know what they're kind of talking about. Pericope is an idea of a thought block. And so what we see here in First John, in this particular text, John is now in the light, in the same way, he's adding on to a conversation that he's having. That First John is like this long ongoing conversation about our relationship with God, and he's trying to juxtapose what an authentic relationship with God looks like, juxtaposed to what a deceptive relationship, something that is not of God but is trying to mimic what God looks like, this relationship with God looks like, trying to mimic who God is. But there's some telltale things that differentiate what is an authentic voice from God in a relationship with God and what's a fake. And so in this particular pericope, in this particular thought block, John is getting us to understand that there is a distinction between an evil spirit, or let's just say a false teacher, and those who are coming in the name of the Lord. He's been kind of going through this in First John. He's been trying to really weave this through so that the people in Ephesus would understand what to look out for. As they are building their relationship with God, there are going to be people who are going to come into their lives who can either add and help build and strengthen their relationship with God, or those who will try to pull them away through false teaching. This is important, because sometimes we read the text and we think, "Oh, that's just that was thousands of years ago. That was hundreds of years ago. That like, this is not what we're going through right now." No, brothers and sisters, this is very relevant for us today. You see the same things that John is talking about, where he's trying to plead with these believers to say, "Look, man, I need you to make sure that you are following. If there are going to be people speaking into your life, if there are going to be people that you're going to be buddying up with, people that you're going to be doing life with, I need to make sure you understand that there are two types of people in this world that will try to latch onto you. There are going to be people who are going to latch onto you that are going to help propel you in your relationship with God. And there are going to be people who are going to try to latch onto you to pull you away from your relationship with God. But remember, your relationship with God is absolutely foundational. It is the most important relationship that you'll have. And so he's saying, in a lot of ways, make sure that your head is on a swivel. You can't just allow anybody to connect to you, because those who latch onto you can pull you away if you're not careful. How do they pull you away? Through what they tell you and what they're modeling in front of you. And this is important, because what was happening in this particular time, in this particular situation, was there were people who were coming into the church. There were people who were finding themselves in these spaces. They were seeing, as they were going through life, they were seeing people gravitate to certain different types who were saying all of this stuff that sound real slick and greasy, stuff that sound real good to the ear. But when you started to listen to it at face value, when you start to really listen to what was being shared, a lot of the stuff that they were sharing was literally pulling people away from God. They had all of the bells and whistles. They sounded the part. They looked the part. They were doing all of this stuff. But when you actually sat down to listen to what they were saying, what they were doing was literally pulling people away from their relationship with God. We got to hear this, especially today. This is what John is getting at this morning. This is what he's saying. Dear friends, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits to see if they are from God, because many false prophets have gone out into the world. This is true then, and it is true now. We got to be careful. The text talks about this idea. When I talk about the text, I'm talking about the corpus of scripture. It talks about this idea of being sober-minded, making sure that you're able to understand what's happening around you, in and around you, because there are things that could be happening. There could be things that are being shared. There could be things that are trying to latch onto you that can literally pull you away from God in your relationship with him. And one of the things that he's saying is that, well, we got to test everything that's coming in our ears. There are going to be things that are, and people who are going to try to latch onto us. I'm going to keep coming back to this, because you can literally contextualize this, what I'm sharing with you today, with your own life. You can stand wherever you are and say, all right, what's jockeying for my attention and my time? What people, what things, what thoughts, what ideas, what trendy things are trying to latch onto me to jockey for my ears, my time, my mind, my thoughts? What's trying to get me to act? What's trying to reach my hands? What's trying to get to my heart? What's trying to condition me? We got to be careful, and we got to make sure that we're sober-minded. We got to make sure that we're testing everything by some type of system, some type of mechanism that can help us to tease out, to see if these things are actually worth following, or if these things are things that we need to push to the furthest recesses outside of the bounds that can touch us. We got to figure out what's happening, what's trying to jockey for our attention. We got to do this because we're constantly inundated with things, with people saying stuff, things that are happening. We have to be able to narrow down what is more important, what is the most important, what's going to drive me closer to God, and what are those things that are going to try to pull me apart, away from him, to get me on an island, to get me to think more about what I can do for myself than me utterly depending and relying on him. What's trying to get me to focus on self, and what's trying to get me to focus on him? He says the telltale sign is that when you start to listen to it, when you start to listen to what's being said, when you begin to actually watch and you begin to think about things from a sober-minded perspective, and you begin to listen to what it is deeply trying to share with you, you'll know from this test. And here's the test. This is what he says. Every spirit that confesses that Jesus Christ is come in the flesh is from God, and every spirit that does not confess that Jesus is not from God. Here's what he's saying. when you think about these things and you run them through the grid of, is this of God? Is this lining up with the implications of Jesus dying in my place and for my sins, and the empty tomb, and me finding victory over the enemy, and me being able to walk in my calling? Is this something that is going to allow me to move forward in my relationship with God? Is this something that is glorifying God? Or is this something that is glorifying self? Or is this something that's glorifying things? Is this something that is going to ultimately glorify something that's broken? Or is it going to glorify God? Like, is this person who has come in my life and who's whispering all of these sweet nothings, and this person who's whining and dining me, and this person who's doing all of this stuff, when I sit down and look at them long enough and I begin to listen to their life, listen to what they're saying, listen to what they're doing and how they're living, are they actually walking testimonies? Are they sharing with me in such a way that will draw me closer to God? Is what their life sharing with me draw me closer to the Lord? Or are they pulling me apart? Is this new latest trend, is this thing going to glorify God? Or is this trying to get me to glorify the creation? Is it trying to get me to see the grandeur and the majesty of the one who hung the stars and the moons in the sky? The one who is always there ready to be with me and to love me in spite of me at times? Is this thing pushing me to glorify the creator? Or is it forcing me, or is it trying to push me to worship the creation? We got to ask ourselves these questions, heart level questions. We got to constantly be fleshing through, allowing these things to go through this grid. Is it drawing me closer to the Lord? Is it pulling me away? Is this person, is this relationship, is this job, is this career, is this thing, is this hobby, is this new trend, is this purchase? I just want to expand this out, because there's going to be an inundation of things that we are always coming into contact, that not only is just coming into our lives just for something, but they're coming with a narrative. They're coming with something that they're trying to get you to buy into, something that it wants you to do or act or behave. Something is attached to it. Are we listening? And listening ain't just audible. Seeing ain't just visual. But we're literally having to come at these things, asking ourselves the question, is this that is trying to inundate my life? Is this of God? What is the narrative that it's giving off? Now, in a very practical way, what we saw in this particular thing was that there were people coming into the church, coming into these moments, who were false teachers, who were sharing trash, but it sounded good and it was pulling people away. And so John is trying to get them to understand, hey, look, these people ain't really worshiping Jesus. They're not, what they're sharing is not exalting the Messiah. They don't even believe what you believe, but you're believing what they're saying. You're allowing them to lead you astray. And he's like, nah, chill. That's going to pull you away from your relationship with God. So in a very practical way, he's talking about people that are coming into the lives of these believers. People who were filling up stadiums and things like that, who would come into the Coliseum and come into the court squares, and these people who would have they would be very, very well versed. But what they were teaching was trash. And so yet again, there's this add-on that John is getting at that I want to constantly hearken us back to. And I want to expand it a little bit here as we start our day. I want us to begin to come at things from a sober minded perspective. Are the things that we are engaging in all aspects of our life, are we engaging in things that are drawing us closer to God? Or are we engaging in things and allowing things to latch onto us that's pulling us away from God? Not just haphazardly running into things, but actually slowing down long enough to really allow ourselves to spend time with God long enough to say, God, is this of you? Will this benefit my relationship with you? If not, Lord, would you do away with it? We have to get to a point in our lives where we are sober minded, where we're filtering what we are doing, how we are living, what we are coming into contact with. We have to constantly filter it through this grid. We're not going to always get it right, but if we are being obedient in this area, it can go a long way. Because if we are allowing so many things in our hearts, in our lives, that's pulling us away from God, there's an idea of it cooling us off. You can get cooled off. Think of it like this. So one of the things, for those of you who know me, know that, man, I'm a coffee snob. I am. I'm a coffee snob. Anybody from our church who has ever met with me, I see some people in the chat who have met with me at coffee shops. We don't just go to any coffee shop. Like, if you come to the office, there's a certain type of coffee here. Like, I am a coffee snob. I know it. I know it. I know it. I am probably the worst person to go. Like, if you invite me to your house and you got Folgers coffee in your house, just don't even bring it out. Just bring tea out. Just give me water, because I'm not gonna drink your coffee. I'm just not gonna do it. I'm a coffee. I'm a coffee snob. Um, I admit it. I admit it. I know this. Um, I've come to grips with this. Nevertheless, I digress. Well, there's sometimes I really want my coffee now, but the way I make my coffee at times, it comes out piping hot. It's so hot that as soon as you even put the cup to your lips, it's like it's gonna burn you. So what do I do? Well, there are a few different things that you can do to try to cool down your coffee. One of the easiest ways, that usually what I do is, sometimes if I'm like really desperate, I'll take an ice cube and I'll drop it in. I know it's not the best thing to do at times, but if I'm really wanting my coffee, I'll drop a few ice cubes in there to immediately cool it down. Or sometimes I'll take lukewarm water and I'll pour some in. I'll leave enough space in the cup so that I can pour a little bit of lukewarm water in there. What's happening here? The coffee is really, really hot, but when it's introduced to something that's really, really cold, then what ends up happening is the hot coffee begins to cool down. It even does it even if you use lukewarm water. Water don't got to be super, super cold. It could just be room temperature. But if you put some of that room temperature water into scalding hot coffee, what ends up happening? Some of the heat, some of the hotness of the coffee dissipates. And it comes down to a level where I can actually drink it right away. We got to be careful. We got to be careful because Satan is crafty. He's very crafty. We're always thinking of, we're going to be on fire for the Lord, and Satan's going to just throw ice cubes into our lives that are going to just automatically bring it down, right? That's true. He uses that sometime. He can use that sometime. He'll use different temptations and things like that to chill you off quickly. Just boom. But we got to be careful because he's crafty. Not always do I have access to ice cubes. I always got access to lukewarm water. And so what I'll do is I'll just pour some of that lukewarm water in there. It's unassuming. It's not as drastic. Some of y'all may not get tempted. You may be on fire for the Lord, and some of y'all may not be tempted by, the measurements of, that person. You may not, like Satan may throw, he may throw out that person in your vantage point, right? That person that maybe got all of the right measurements. And for you, you might be in a season of life where that ain't gone. Those ice cubes, you ain't really worried about them. But what he'll do though is that he'll throw lukewarm stuff at you. Stuff that just seems all right. He'll be like, you know what? I can't tempt them with that. But what I can tempt them with is just, I could just, make sure that, as they're scrolling down their Facebook app, that all of the ads are going to be for, some dress or something that may be on sale when I know they don't really got the money. I'll just keep doing that. It's not that bad. It's just a little something right here. Cool them down. I can just instead of bringing that person with all the right measurements and all this stuff that'll visually get to their eyes. Maybe it's not their eyes, but maybe I can cool them off with somebody just liking their post that they ain't seen in a while. Or I can just cool them off by saying, you know what? I can get them to doubt their goodness and what God has done for them. I can get them to believe a lie that they're not good enough. And I don't got to come out right out and have somebody say it to their face. But what I can do is I can just change. I can just make sure that all that they see are all of these people who look better than them, who are talking better than them, who has all these things that are going on that just seems way better than them. And over time, I can just cool them off. I can get them to believe just what's going on here. It's just lukewarm water. You can just pour it in there. And you'll believe it part and parcel. Why? Because it's not bad. It's not drastic. We got to be careful. We got to be careful. What does this mean? Why does this matter? Why am I going on this tangent? Because I think this text is leading us to something that is indeed very important for us to understand. That your relationship with God is the utmost relationship. It is the most important thing that you're going to have. There are going to be things that are going to come in your life that will build it up. Things like this, where we get to sit together around the scriptures to be able to talk about what God has done and what God is doing in and through our lives, and to remind us of just how good and how powerful he is. To be with people who are in love with God, who will call you, who will be accountable to you, those who will push you to be not so much to conform to their image, but so that you will conform into the image of the Son, right? Like we need those type of relationships, those things, the people that'll latch onto you and say, man, look, I'm with you. Just like Ruth said to Naomi, right? Like this is important. Like I'm gonna be with you no matter what, right? We need those type of relationships. There are good things that are here, that are around us, that we got to latch onto. But there are also things that will try to latch onto us. People, places, and things that will try to latch onto us to get us to begin to doubt our relationship with God, or to cool our relationship off with God, where we will begin to just fall into this trap where God is present, but there's no power. There's no real relationship. We've been inundated by all of these things that are literally just pulling us away ever so slightly. Just pulling you away, cooling you off, to get you into a desert place where you're like, what in the world? Where is God at? And God's like, I've been here. But your life is so crowded because you've allowed so many things to latch onto you that are not of me. And they've just been they've just been cooling you off. So we have to be sober minded, because there are multiple things like that. There are multiple things that are trying to do that. There may be people in your life right now that are trying to do that. We got to be careful. How we live and what we allow into our lives is important. So we got to be sober-minded. We got to begin to ask ourselves the question, what is this that's trying to latch onto my life? What is it saying? Is it ultimately glorifying the one who came and died in my place? Is it glorifying the Messiah? Is it showing me? Is it sharing with me that Jesus is the one. And I know what you're saying. Not everything is going to come down to that, Pastor. You're going to make everything spiritual. I think that there's a spiritual implication for a lot of things that we attach ourselves to. We just don't take the time to think deeply enough about it. But we do think deeply enough about it when we find ourselves on the backside of something taking advantage of us or pulling us away. So my challenge for us is, before we allow things to latch onto our lives, is to take the moment and take the time to assess, is it really worth it? You know, there's the whole adage, everything that glitters ain't gold. The only reason why you know that is that you took time to inspect it first. Ain't nothing worse than buying something that you think is real and it ultimately ain't. It's going to cost you something. The same thing is true with our relationship with God. Everything that tries to come into your life to try to get your attention, the jockey for your time, for your mind, for your hands, is not always going to be something that's of God. We got to take the time to assess to see if it's worth it. As I'm looking at this is what I'm getting at. I think if we were reading this, I think that we would see that there's so many things that John is sharing with the people in Ephesus that applies to us today. We don't like talking about the spiritual realm until we need to talk about the spiritual realm. We don't like talking about spirits and, deception and all those things because people get scared of it. I get it. Hollywood has done a number on us. But we got to understand. Paul talked about it a lot. Said, man, you are in spiritual warfare. And there are spirits that are trying to get you to derail you, that are attached to things. You could be spooked about it, but I mean, it's the reality. We have to be sober-minded. We have to be careful. Your relationship with God is the most important relationship that you will have. And the things that you allow to attach to your lives is either going to help strengthen it, pull you away from it. I could keep going, but I realized that I've gone over my time, and my timekeepers didn't help me today. Y'all didn't help me today. That's okay. We'll come back tomorrow, and we'll try to be better. Hopefully, this was beneficial to you. It's definitely been beneficial for me. I want us to stay hot. I want our relationship to stay piping hot, to use my illustration. I want our relationship with the Lord to continue to thrive and grow. But it's not just going to happen by happenstance. It means that you're going to have a part to play in this as well. And so I want us today to just take a moment to just begin to assess what are the attachments in your life? What are the things that are going on in your life? Like take the time. I'm telling you, it'll be beneficial for you. I'm telling you, please. I'd much rather you do this stuff on the front end than you sitting in my office where I'm at right now at the table. I mean, in this chair right across from me. And we're having to walk through this on the back end. Let's not be reactive Christians. Let's start being proactive Christians. And when I say proactive, I'm talking about proactive even in our relationships with him and in our lives in general. So let's spend time. Today, I want you to begin that process. That's my word of encouragement for you. What are the things I'm allowing in? Is this drawing me closer to the Lord, or is it pulling me away? I want us to just be able to do that. Just sit with that for today. Spend 10 minutes today. Spend your lunch break. Spend your first 15 thinking about it. Just write down a list. Very, very basic. I just want you to begin to think about aspects of your life, things that have been jockeying for your attention. And then it becomes very clear for you to see what, Lord, I need you to remove this. Lord, I'm praying for more of this. I think that's what we need to do. All right. So that's my homework for you on today. That's my homework for you today. My homework for you today is to be sober minded. And I want us to be able to filter what it is that we're allowing to attach to our lives. Listen, I'm glad to be back with you all. I'm praying for you all on today. Continue to pray for me, my physical health, that we can get some clarity around those things. But at the same time, pray for our church. We are praying that the Lord would provide financially for our church. We are a church plant. And so that means that, man, we are always raising support. I don't talk about money a lot to you all. I just want to share the goodness of God with you, and that your heart be so overwhelmed that the natural inclination would be to give to some degree. But listen, in order for us to continue to do what we're doing, we need financial support. And so if you feel so led to give to Reconcile Community Church, you can do that on our website. Also, you can, it'll show you all the different ways to be able to do that online. We also have an app as well. But your gifts go to help us to continue to do things like this, to bless those in our community, and then to continue to do things that'll help us to grow in our relationship with the Lord. And so, again, thank you for your gifts. Thankful that you've done that. And then at the same time, I want to encourage you, if you are in the Cincinnati area and you're looking for a church home, if you are like, man, I hadn't been to church in a while, I don't really know what to do or how to look, we are a safe place for you. We want you here. And so on Sunday at 11 a.m., Lord willing, we'll be back to gather together. And so I just want to encourage you to take a chance. You've been already on our gathering. You've been here. You've been daily devotional show. We would love to see you in person. All right. We would love to see you in person at least one time this month. I would love to see your beautiful faces in our gathering. It's at 11 a.m. At our Reconcile offices. And so would love to see you there. More information about our gathering will be posted this week for you to be able to RSVP. We don't have that much space. And so we want to make sure that you are in the building. This is your personal invitation. Pastor Brandon would love to see you. I would love to see you at one of our gatherings. All right. And so with that being said, listen, have a good rest of the day. Awesome Monday. And I look forward to seeing you all on tomorrow, on Tuesday. Y'all have a good one.